Predictable Profits is a leading business coaching and consulting company for highly paid entrepreneurs. And with me is Charles Gaudet, the CEO, who will talk about how companies are surviving and thriving in this very unusual environment that we have, Charles. So I'm very much looking forward to what you have to say. So, what are some of the challenges? I mean, clearly we know some. I mean, the pandemic has been a huge challenge. What are some other challenges that you are seeing with small businesses right now?
So that's a great question. I look at it in about three ways. The first one is getting found. And I say that because 90% of small businesses have gotten to the point where they're at because of word of mouth and referrals. And so word of mouth and referrals can only get you so far, and it's very difficult to scale that. So entrepreneurs need to start looking at various strategies, inbound, outbound, and whatnot, in order to be seen. The other challenge is being different. And our buyers have ultimately become researchers. And so the average buyer is looking at between 12 and 14 different sources of information before making a buying decisions. So it's not just enough to get eyeballs to your business. It's about really being able to differentiate yourself and tell your prospect why you're different and why you're better than your competition. And I'd say the third biggest threat would be commoditization. Entrepreneurs, by essence, are very quick to discount. And that oftentimes creates razor thin margins and a race to the bottom. So we like to look at things slightly differently and ask our clients a question: what needs to happen in order for you to become the most expensive competitor in the industry and still have people lining up to do business with you? Because what that does is it takes the focus off of price and it puts more of the focus on the value of doing business with you.
Okay, very interesting, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs are kind of scared about failing. And so they just take any business, even if it means cutting prices. And you end up kind of being, I think I heard a term one time, busy fool. Like you're doing lots of work and you're not really making that much money. So that's an interesting piece of advice. I do think that's very common. As a coach to small and mid-sized businesses, I mean, what are you telling them in terms of navigating this economy? I mean, we hear so much, especially from politicians, that small and mid-sized businesses are the backbone of the economy. And I think they do employ more than even large businesses do. So what are some things to have them navigate this unusual situation that we're in?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to understand that this isn't a bad economy. What this is a different economy. And so entrepreneurs in every industry have been forced to ultimately adapt. And 2020 created what's known as an inflection point. An inflection point means we have to reevaluate everything that we did prior to 2020 to see what needs to change now moving forward. And so, you've mentioned a couple industries that were hard hit. We have a client in the travel industry. He very literally couldn't even put somebody on the plane. His competitors, worth hundreds of millions of dollars, are going out of business left and right. Yet our client had one of the best years he's ever had in his entire business. And the reason for that is because entrepreneurs during moments like this have one of four decisions that they have to make. They either, number one, have to change the existing message, the existing marketing message, to meet the market. Number two, they have to change the market that they're targeting to meet their current existing message. Number three, they have to change both the message and the market. Or number four, they just sit tight, cross their fingers, and they hope that things are going to change. But when you look at the businesses today that are thriving, those are the ones that have adapted quickly. If you look at the businesses that have really, really struggled, it's because they're just doing more of the same thing and hoping that things will be different.
I know there was a lot of pivots, and I feel like some of this has been going on so long that we will never go back to where we were in 2019. I mean, we've gotten used to a new routine and new technology, and our business models have changed based on this. So now speaking of all that, where do you think are some of the biggest opportunities for marketing or positioning your business for the future for small businesses?
Well, there's a lot of opportunities. But the first one that comes top of mind is that our buyers are more discerning than they have really been, perhaps in my lifetime, as far as how they're spending money. And Google did a study to figure out what was different by the way that people were doing business today versus prior. And what they found is that people go through this cycle of exploration and evaluation, trying to figure out, are they making the best decision? Who should I be doing business with? And so forth. Our buyers have become researchers. So when it comes to saying the greatest opportunity, it's number one in providing that information, being at the right place at the right time with the right information that helps your prospective buyer identify you as being the best option, your product as being the best option, your service as being the best option. But it also means that if you don't provide that information, your competitor will. The flip side is true. In many cases, what we're seeing is because so many competitors have failed to adapt, that when somebody is doing research over a competitor's product or service, when we can plug our business in those moments where our consumers are doing that exploration and evaluation, it gives us an opportunity to be able to capture significantly more market share.
Mhm. And you mentioned right place at right time. So, how does an entrepreneur increase the chances that they are there? Like, is it just a matter of staying up to date on current information, working hard, saying yes to things? I mean, how do you advise them to seize the opportunities when they present themselves?
So this goes back to something that we talked about a little bit earlier about creating those scalable marketing and sales opportunities. So one of those moments at being the right place is looking at different paid media strategies. The first place most people are going to go is Google to do a little bit of research. So making sure you understand the key terms that your prospective buyers will be looking at, and having those paid terms to be found. Search engine optimization is going to be another resource for that. Once somebody visits your website, you also want to make sure that you're doing retargeting to stay top of mind, because they are going to leave your website. They are going to be looking at between 12 and 14 different sources of information.
Well, very interesting, Charles Gaudet. Thank you so much for sharing these thoughts, and always interesting to hear about the small business climate.
My pleasure.